Well, Drew, you're nominated for the second consecutive year as the production designer on Man in the High Castle. This is your second career nomination as well. So is it even sweeter the second time around?
It really is kind of wonderful. I gotta say, I was so pleased for the show and for myself last year, but this is really it's wonderful to be recognized again and for us to be nominated. So we're very excited.
Well, so the first season was really successful, and you laid a lot of groundwork. How did you expand upon that in season two? What were some of the new challenges that you had?
Well, we've expanded the world for John Smith's home and apartment. We've moved him to a brand new, very big, expensive set that we are very excited about and had a lot of fun with. So we've sort of consolidated and expanded some of our work on stage, which has been really satisfying for all of us, for the crew, and just good fun.
Well, given that the first season was so successful, did that were you allowed more resources that you were able to work with? Were you able to, I mean, how did that affect your work?
Yes, they've given us a little bit more money for physical sets being built on stage, which is a nice vote of confidence from the studio and production to say, you know, we're gonna invest in this, and that really was terrific. And so we took that and we've created two new physical spaces. One for John Smith in his more elevated role as more powerful member. And then also for our neutral zone, we've created an interior bar setting for our Denver neutral zone space that we had been in our neutral zone of Cannon City, and now we're going more into an urban neutral zone of downtown Denver. So we've created a big new set for that we're all very really happy with.
We'll talk about some of the, I guess, research or work, because I mean, you did a lot of this kind of early work in the beginning to get the period right. So in these new sets, I mean, what kind of work went into that?
Well, I think what's really the most interesting about that in our show is you know, taking a while to sort of figure out what it is and how to express it. Is it really is alternative period, and we're making alternative period, and in our different version of the 60s, there are different things and different architectural norms. And Smith's apartment is an example of what would have been the dominant thinking of someone like Albert Speer towards an interior design of a Manhattan penthouse type apartment. So we've put throughout that set some of the kinds of things that you can see in Berlin today, with sort of strong vertical linear architectural elements, things that are very characteristic of the work of Speer and others at that time, but placed in a modernist setting. So it's a true mixture of things that never happened together. So it's very modernist in a kind of a tall kind of glass building, but it's also very much in the character of the 30s Speer elements.
So, I mean, you are up at the Emmys, and you've submitted the season two, excuse me,
Yeah.
premiere, episode one. Why did you choose that episode? What about it stood out in terms of your work?
Well, I think that there are a lot of elements that are in that. We're nominated with Jim, who of course won last year for cinematography, and also with visual effects for Barnstorm. And I think that both of their work in that episode is really shown, and I think that the visual effects work is extremely strong in this season, and is, I think, for those, it just was a big step, a big jump from one season to the next, and in a lot of ways. And so those large visual effects things were things that we worked a lot on here in the art department before, sharing them with visual effects, and then together working those through. So it's an episode that features a lot of our new work and our best work and our strongest work.
Well, going off of that, can you talk a little bit about how you and the other department heads, many of whom are, as you said, Emmy nominated for the second year in a row, actually, how you guys work together as a team to come up with a visual style for the show.
Absolutely. I think that that Jim Hawkinson is just really an extraordinarily gifted DP, and he's very interested and open to talking about the way we create physical space so that he can light it and make it shootable in ways that are really both in terms of the content and of the story, but also in terms of the physical realities of how can we make this better and better. And he suggested things for some of the work that's been put out, where we choose to do a truly shiny black floor, is a contribution that comes really from his photographic desire to be able to frame in ways that really sort of reflect the characters in different ways within the settings. And those are gifts that come from a collaborator who wants to expand the world. And so sometimes you never know who's going to think of what. I don't necessarily think of a shiny floor, but the cinematographer does. And wow, what a difference that makes in the quality of the project. And it's just that people look at the art through a different lens, literally, and it changes how you do it. And with visual effects, we have just an extremely strong group in Barnstorm and with Lawson that their contribution is really enormous, really truly enormous. And we work very closely together to come up with like initial ideas that will take months and months and months to make in CG, but that are big and ambitious and are strong. So together, Lawson and I spend a lot of time working through what those ideas are. How much of it we'll build physically. For example, the inside of the Volkshaw Dome, we had a marble floor, and we had a podium area with a door, and the rest of it was created through visual effects compositing of CG elements that they created. So it's really a big, very much a hand-in-hand workflow to get that to work. And what I love about working with Lawson is that we're working hand-in-hand throughout the process. Sometimes a production designer will do something and then think, well, we'll see what's going to replace that green screen. We hope that the world that will be created after we've gone on, to some other job or to some other place is going to be amazing. And what's terrific in our relationship on this show is that, we know a lot about what is going to be in that green screen space. And we talk and communicate about it in a way that, effectively, in that same way as with Jim and I, each of us brings a different set of eyes to the project, and then we help each other. We just help each other make it look the best it can.
And I mean, for you and your team, you have all this complicated work that you have to do, and you're doing it on a tight schedule. I'm assuming, since that's what I hear from TV folks all the time. It's tight schedule.
Absolutely.
Give us some insight into how the kind of hard work and long hours that you and your team have to pull in order to make these sets ready.
Well, we on an episode basis, we have 10 days of prep and 10 days of shooting, and that roughly is about a month of time to create an episode of this show. And it is an enormous effort when you may have as many as 20 or 30 new sets, and a set can be as simple as a location outside next to a car, or a physically built space on a stage. And each of those sets and environments requires set dressing, lighting, and of course, wardrobe and everything else. And so, in the art department, we have an enormous team in set dressing with John Lancaster and Lisa Lancaster, who are also named in this nomination for set decorating. And that is a huge a part of this job. Is there have quite a number of people and a lot of trucks continuously moving to transport the various pieces of furniture and drapery that make our physical world real when we go to these places. And those can be things like a Japanese themed telephone box, or a Nazi state themed telephone box that has to be physically moved from place to place to set up the shots.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think people really find fascinated about this show is how kind of eerily relevant it feels in some ways. I mean, especially given the events of this past weekend. I know that you guys are working within a period and you're working within an alternative reality, but I do wonder if current events or what's going on in the world at any given moment kind of consciously or unconsciously enter into your design work or any of the work on the show.
We periodically have very serious conversations about what's happening outside of us as it relates to the show, and making sure that it's clear that we are an anti-fascist show, making an anti-fascist statement. And it is certainly the case that in envisioning this alternative world, it is not the alternative world that any of us wanted to have or happen. And it is certainly deeply painful and profoundly upsetting when things like what happened over the weekend occur, and we all take a moment to discuss that and think deeply about what we are doing and how our show is present in the time that we are all present in. So it is a tremendous amount of reflection and thought goes into it before the scripts are even get to us. So we feel a great deal of responsibility and requirement to take care in how this is all done and presented. And I personally delight when we kill Nazis in our show. I just have fun with that, and I'd like to see more.
Well, I think to your point, one of the qualities of the show that it shares with the book is in the way that it's, on the one hand, it works as an entertainment, but on the other hand, there is this socio-political message underneath it.
I think that something that I've been thinking about just the last couple of days that is very important, I think, is that when in 1962, when Philip K. Dick released this book, there was really no ambiguity that Nazis were evil, and that any ideology like that was so completely wrong that the juxtaposition, just the idea, the science fiction idea of sort of suggesting an alternative world where they won, was so beyond the imagining of anybody that, it was just sort of electrifying in the simplicity of the juxtaposition. And you fast forward to today, where there are people who really don't have a deep understanding of history and have chosen to forget the history and are attempting to reassert the idea that those ideals are okay, is truly terrifying. And so it needs to be condemned absolutely without any hesitation in the strongest possible terms. And we're all seeing what the lack of that does, and we're all seeing fortunately what strong voices of opposition also can do, and how that can really change everything that's happening right now. And so it is really a interesting comparison to imagine how this original piece of artwork appeared in 1962 and how it is appearing in 2017. We are living in two different worlds, unfortunately, and the world that we are living in right now is very, very dangerous and upsetting.
Yeah, very much so. Going off of that, are you guys currently working on season 3, or has production? Have you guys finished up on season 3 yet?
We're in the middle of season 3. We are prepping it as we speak, and producers and writers and all of us are looking at what is going on around us as we are in the middle of this. And so it's a very important time for the world. It's a very important time for everybody of conscience to take the steps that they need to make clear and to use their voices to make clear the condemnation of it.
Well, I certainly look forward to seeing what you guys come up with in season 3. Drew, it was a pleasure talking with you again. Congratulations on the
Thank you so
nomination.
much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much. Thanks.
Have a good one.